dropping. Shane gang. Booty. Drop a pancake on my plate. Booty. Make a season.
We're back. Episode 13. I hope this is right. I got the last one wrong. We've got Val on the podcast. Fill in the blank. Artist profile. I'm very excited to have you on, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Nice.
So leave it to you to really make me step out of my comfort zone. It wouldn't be wrong
I hope
if
this
you
is
weren't
good
doing
practice for when you do one that's like official. For now, we'll just riff on this one. What did I want to say? What did I want? Shit. There's a lot of things I want to hop into, right? It's been a while since I've done this, so it's like, I'm getting my rust off.
A little rusty.
Yeah, I'm a little rusty on these, but it's okay. We'll hop in. The Zoom has also been giving me problems, so I've been trying to figure that out. I haven't gone premium yet, but I wanted to have you on because I'm a big fan, right? I think that the people that I've had on this podcast, most of them have been friends, and there's always that like weird internal jealousy that my friends are way good artists. And your art is awesome, and you're also kind of a hustler. So that's really what I want to talk about today. But
hey, thanks.
Yeah. So for the people who don't know you, right? For the 34 people that watch, why don't you kind of give us I want the comic book story. I want Val grew up on, she didn't know how to ride like that sort of stuff. Why don't you lay that out for us for the next 4 or 5 minutes, and then let's hop into some cool stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up in Houston, Texas. I am first generation American, so my parents immigrated from Portugal pretty much right before I was born. So I have an older brother and sister, and then I was the firstborn in the U.S., and I have a younger sister. So yeah, growing up, it was just kind of this juxtaposition of a story that I'm sure you're familiar with, where it's you live in this American progressive cultural society, but your parents are
Old school,
mega Catholic,
yeah.
Mega traditional, trying to instill the values in you kind of thing. And, as a kid, you probably don't appreciate it as much as you do as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, other than that, it was fairly standard. Went to everything through high school. Growing up in Houston, I was the kid that was involved in everything and pretty much had straight A's, in part because I had to. Yeah.
Because you didn't have to?
Because I had to.
You had to.
I mean, because I had to, but I'm just going to give myself a little boost of confidence and say that I am a smart human. So it was a combination, but yeah, it was the kind of thing where it's you didn't want to come home with a B. So yeah, did a lot of academic stuff, did a lot of art related after school activities. And when I say art, I don't mean actual art, but the arts. So I was in choir, I was in musical theater, I was on the dance team. I played piano. So I dabbled in a lot of different things. At one point I did gymnastics, ballet didn't really stick for too long. So yeah, just kind of all the things. I went to a school.
Where did that start? Was that something that, immigrant parents, my dad was like, okay, you got to be in sports from day one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was the art and dance thing something they pushed, or that's something you naturally went into? And then keep going with it.
I feel like the piano they pushed. I really disliked piano. I think they just wanted us to be involved. They didn't want us to have any time to be messing around or doing things you weren't supposed to be doing. It was go to school, do your activities, do your homework, go to bed, do it all over again. Yep. So, which I guess will kind of lead into my life these days. But yeah, so just a really active childhood, I would say, and then went to college at Texas A&M University, which I don't know if you're familiar with.
Big football school or no?
It is. So now at the time it was in the Big 12 conference. Oh, wow. And now it's in the SEC. So again, I'm not a sports person, but my understanding is that it's grown in popularity. So this school has changed a lot since I've been there, but it was like, I would say a fairly conservative school. And it's kind of, it's in this small town in Texas called College Station. So like, it's really funny because if you know me now and kind of like my story since then, like I've traveled, I've lived abroad, I like love doing all these crazy things. And I picked like the safest like state school option that I possibly could for college. But I think at the time I just, you know, you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. So anyways, yeah, did that, graduated with a BA in marketing, and then started my career in retail, did some like buying related roles for a few years, and then decided that wasn't for me. So yeah, I kind of ditched that and decided to go back to grad school, in part to chase a boy. So moved to London, started grad school, and then about 3 weeks in decided that that wasn't really what I wanted to do in terms of the relationship, not the school. So, yeah. But honestly ended up being like one of the best decisions I could have made, and really just kind of like changed the course of like what I wanted to kind of do with my life, and meeting new people, and just kind of really expanding the way that I think and the way that I approach and view things. So yeah, did that for a year and then cried like a baby when I had to leave. I was the person, I feel like London was my New York for a lot of people, where it's like, you're going to go, you're going to live there forever, it's going to be amazing. And then, you know, after a certain amount of time, it's like, all right, maybe I should go live somewhere more affordable. So, which you live in New Jersey, so you're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
but
I had a buddy, Nuveen. He lived in London for 5 years, and now he moved back to New York, and he's like, oh my God. He's like, New York is cheap compared to London. I'm like, oh my God. And New York is, compared to New Jersey to New York, is crazy dramatic in price too. Just in like food, rent, everything. So I get it. But
yeah, exactly.
It's one of the places we've thought about going to, London. Like, I've never been.
I will come with you. Like, I live for any reason to go. I'm like, can this coronavirus stuff end? Because I'm like, it's like, I don't know. It's like this feeling of home almost.
Yep. I totally feel
yeah. So left London for a job opportunity that I got in New Jersey with Maersk, which is where I met Catherine. So that's where our worlds kind of start to collide. And got a gig there doing marketing related work. So mostly in the project management kind of scope of marketing. So that was kind of really my first dip in the water with that, and is what I'm doing today. But I would say with a fairly more exciting product. So yeah,
that containers aren't exciting.
No, it was really, I had an idea, but like, I just had no concept. Like I would go to these, like Catherine excels at the game of like understanding the like shipping industry, and can like talk any person in the room like up in terms of like, I know all the things, I understand, like she just gets, I can't even like use examples because I'm like, I think I just didn't have an interest in it. And so it just like never really stuck. Whereas Michael, my fiance, like he could do the same thing, and he'd be like, oh, the price of this and the whatever's happening in this country is affecting whatever's happening in this country. And I'm like, I'm just trying to like do my job, and
I'm just trying to like live and eat bagels right now. Like,
yeah, I'm just trying to eat bagels and go like do cool things and go on adventures and look cute while doing it. So I mean, that makes me sound a little shallow, which I'm not. But anyways, it just wasn't for me.
It's that spark, and I think that's with anything. Like I've seen Catherine go from jobs to jobs, and I've seen the way she's reverse engineered, whether it's the role or whether it's the product. So I've seen that process, and you could tell the difference between one she's passionate about and one she's not. And, you know,
exactly.
Like you could see when somebody's talking about their job, whether there's like a fire or passion or natural interest in it, and then not. You could totally tell.
Exactly.
You know,
and it just like totally impacts like the quality of your work and just like your investment into it, you know? So, I mean, I was there for a year and a half, and when I got the job, I was, you know, it ticked a lot of boxes for me at the time. You know, it was a role in marketing. I was part of this like grad program where you get to kind of travel all over the world. You get to meet all these like people that are in like your group, and all of that was amazing. But like my day-to-day job, I was like,
I can relate to that on so many levels, dude. Literally, the first job out of college, I went to, like, I don't even know how I got the job, but I was working at Merrill Lynch, and it was that. It was the large name on the resume. It was working in, you know, a department that was, you know, quote unquote professional. It was wearing a suit to work. It was going to New York. It was doing all the things, the commuting, the happy hour, like it. But at the inside, it like wasn't fulfilling. And I knew that it wasn't going anywhere. And it's like, I'm not that important to these people. So I didn't really feel like I had so I feel that, you know?
Yeah, honestly, it was just too big for me. Like it just, it's hard to wrap your brain around like this organization that has so many.
I don't operate
People
well
love
in large
it.
companies. I would not. I laugh at Catherine sometimes because I'm like, if I worked at your company, HR would kick me out in a minute. Like I just wouldn't be able to coexist because I thrive kind of in a startup-y in like a more, you know, small community, I guess, for companies.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess you could say I was a bit of a rule breaker, even though it's not a rule at Maersk. But my fiance and I, Michael, we met at Maersk and dated, I guess. Well, we dated secretly for a really long time because it was funny. My boss at the time was like, don't fraternize with the boys. And then like literally like the first weekend that I was there, I met Michael. I didn't know anyone. I moved to New Jersey with I moved to London thinking that I was going to marry this boy. And so I like sold all my furniture. I sold my car. Like
you're living in London forever at that point.
I'm living in Europe forever. That's it. And then it was like, LOL, let's go back to America. So I moved to New Jersey. So yeah, I was back in the States. So like I didn't know a single person. I think Catherine was genuinely my first friend.
Wow.
Like when I first started, she was like, do you like want to go get a drink or something? Like super sweet as she is. Anyways, and then that kind of started that friendship. But yeah, so it was like, I got to meet someone. And that someone happened to be Catherine and then Michael. So here we are now.
Man, I can't tell you how good it is to hear like a positive New Jersey story. All of my friends in New York put their nose up at New Jersey. New Jersey's this, New Jersey's that. And I just love hearing like, you have such a good experience in New Jersey.
I have the most fond memories.
Macho Nacho. You guys, when we were with you guys, I forget when you came back. We looked at your old apartment. You guys like took pictures on the green.
Yeah.
I'm like, see, New Jersey's nice, people. Like, don't people shit on New Jersey.
It's so quaint. I mean, not all areas, but the area where I lived specifically was so quaint. And like, I loved coming to the shore to visit Kat. But yeah, even my friends, like whenever I was moving from London, they're like, oh, so you're moving to the Jersey Shore? Like that's all they think of. And then even my friends from Texas, when they would come to visit, they were like, I don't know about that. And then literally came back to visit multiple times because they loved Morristown. They loved the surrounding areas. Montclair was great. We'd hop on the train and we were in New York in an hour. Like it has a lot to offer. So I think it's just one of those things where, you know, if you are from there or like close to there, your view of it is very different. You know, like when I think of Houston, I'm like, I would never move back. And then other people are like, oh my gosh, the culture, the food, it's so great, the nightlife. And I'm like, are we talking about the same place? So
I'm having that dilemma right now because Kat and I are deciding whether we want to buy a house back in the town where we grew up right now. So, but I'm like, oh, do I want, like, you know, I'm that guy now that's like moving back to like his hometown, but it is a really nice town. But still, I'm like, oh, do I really want to do that? You know, I don't know.
I think it also like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that New Jersey, just the one other point on me promoting New Jersey, I feel like people need to, it depends how you experience it. I talk to people from all over And when I talk, like, oh, I'm from New Jersey, they're like, oh yeah, I've been to the airport. You know, I'm like, that's not the best representation.
Right. You're like, Newark is not what I want you to think of when you think of New Jersey.
No, please. You have to like literally hop like 20 miles out, and then you can start experiencing what I consider New Jersey. But anyway, continue with what you were saying.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think in part to your, moving back home kind of thing, it's just, I think a part of who we are as people who are like super adventurous and like to do, but it's like life changes and your priorities shift and you have a kid now and anywho.
But the adventure part, I don't want to stop. That's one of the reasons Kat and I now are like, debating the second child, because we made like a deal. We're like, look, Penelope, number one, princess, everything. But the deal is no more kids if we can travel the world with her. So like, that's really kind of, I don't want the suburban life to then shut off the valve of the travel. Cause we love, I love it. Like there's certain things that I'm obsessed with. Travel is definitely one of them. Kat, I'd say is 50% of my obsession. She's there. She definitely loves to when we've picked a spot, looking at the spots to go to. So like once we say, okay, like we're going to Portugal or we're going to Ecuador or we're going to Dominican Republic. Okay, I'm going to find the places that we're going to go in that place.
Yeah.
She loves having the 4-day agenda. Like she loves that. You know?
Oh, I live for an agenda. Yeah. I schedule time to relax. Like that's me.
Yeah.
Okay, and for 3 hours we're gonna sit at the beach.
That was our honeymoon. My honeymoon was cocktails. That. Yeah, that's what she's like. We're gonna go to this place. We're gonna go to the supermarket. We're gonna make these sandwiches. Blah blah blah. Like that was my honeymoon in a week. It was amazing because I don't do that.
Well, I was gonna say I adventure just like for me, I like it because it's like you don't really have to think once you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I planned a trip to Colombia like that, and my friend was like, I feel like I'm not having to think at all. And I'm like, yeah, because I spent hours preparing for this.
But you enjoy it. Do you enjoy
Blog life trips don't just happen.
Yeah. This aesthetic is on purpose. Like,
yeah, this is a vibe. It has a mood board.
But you enjoy, that's the thing. I don't enjoy that.
Love it.
Genuinely enjoys it. There'll be parts where she'll be like this is hard work, but then she's like, oh, it's so worth it at the end.
Yeah.
I love that. That was one when Colombia. Well, in Colombia, we really didn't have to do that because her family kind of took us everywhere. So
yeah.
We didn't have the agenda. But oh man, I mean, just thinking about it, I posted like before this on Instagram this morning, like this word that I've never even heard of, but it's basically like a feeling of not having any trips booked. So I'm like,
it pains me. I'm like, it's funny. My friend and I, we both have birthdays in September, so we typically celebrate together. I'm sorry?
What day's your birthday?
September 19th.
Ooh, you're 9 days after me.
I'm sorry. I know we have close birthdays.
Go ahead.
So, my friend and I were like, we've got to do something. So we're actually going to go to Galveston, which is a beach town in Texas, but like it's a port town. Like it's where all the cruises take off. Like the water's disgusting. Like anytime you talk about Galveston here in Texas, people are like, that water's nasty. So it's like, I was like, I just need to see the ocean. Like I haven't seen the ocean in a year. And I'm like, so anyways, it's just funny how your perspective changes where it was like, I'm getting married in Portugal and the rehearsal dinner's on the beach and then we're going to Croatia. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to stay in this 4-star hotel in Galveston, Texas. Like,
it humbled us, yo. COVID humbled us hard.
I had so many plans.
Man,
anyway,
I'm watching it all. I'm trying to make it like I'm trying to still be in the travel world without actually having to move. So like I sent you that thing the other day where I found that deal because in September we have 3 weddings 1 week after another. So Steve's wedding is the 5th. Our friend Lorenzo's wedding is the 12th in Dominican. And then from there, we're going straight to Portugal. So I was looking at like the deals on the flights and I get enjoyment out of that. Like, I like that stuff. I can check.
Yeah. I still keep getting my Scott's cheap flights notifications, and I'm like, is it time?
Is it time to do this?
I mean, we just found out that we're probably not going back to like the physical office until 2021. So now I'm like, where can I go work from?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people that I'm working with, partnering with, they're just, just like you, right? Engaged or married. And what they're doing is they're doing Airbnbs all around the country and just working remotely from there. And they just either rented a truck or got a whatever RV, and they're just making their way. Like, he's in New Hampshire last week. They're heading to, wherever. So, and they love it. They love it.
Yeah.
The change of scenery and the change of this, like, especially.
Yeah, we went on sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, my friends in New York who have smaller apartments.
Oh yeah, I've like been reading a lot of stuff about people just like leaving and going to do other stuff. We went on an RV trip earlier this summer too, just to like get out and go see some stuff. So yeah, I feel that.
I love it. I have to like get out. I'm just that type of guy. I got to be outside. All right, let's talk, dude. I want to talk about the hustle, because
we like totally deviated.
I know. I have my conversation style is like subreddit. I just go into different things. It's been one of the things that I've noticed, like the comments back from like, hey, I love that, but like, you literally are like a squirrel when you speak. And I'm like, well, that's just kind of how I am. I love it. Fix that. So that's how I am. So talk to me about, I mean, from the beginning, I'm listening and I'm hearing, always busy. I'm hearing, a lot of the dance, a lot of the arts, the piano. So obviously the art is there. You're a good student. And then where does like this, like, business entrepreneur Val start to emerge? Like, what chapter does she start to be like, I can do this now, or I'm thinking about doing this now?
Yeah. Honestly, I think like everything leading up, excuse me, to like the last 3 years of my life have really kind of contributed to this new, I don't want to say new Val, but new-ish and improved to a degree. I was in a really toxic relationship, so I had like pretty low self-esteem about myself. So meeting Michael like was a game changer, because he's so supportive of everything that I do. And then, I dabbled in a couple of different industries, but then also went back and got my master's degree. So I feel like I just like through those 6-7 years, just like gained a lot of experience. And then about 3.5 years ago is when I got my job offer with Kendra Scott, which is the company that I'm with now. For those of you listening who don't know, it's a jewelry brand based out of Austin, Texas. And so I've kind of been working my way through different marketing project management roles with this company. And the cool thing about Kendra Scott is it's really allowed me to like melt together all of my experiences. So I'm working on project management, which like Maersk really like turbo machine helped me kind of figure out on like a really huge scale. And then I've got that retail experience, so I understand the fashion industry to a degree. And then Kendra Scott at the time was a much smaller company. So, if you think about Maersk Line alone has like 20,000 something employees.
Yeah.
Our entire corporate office has like 250.
Wow.
So she's been in business for about 15 years, and we're valued at like $1 billion brand. So we're definitely not small by any means, but we still operate very much with this like grassroots, like creativity fuels the strategic decisions that we make to a degree. So I feel like I was getting really firsthand look at kind of how a business operates on not a much smaller scale, but a smaller scale than Maersk, where it's like you have a job of 20,000 people. Like I was able to see the more like macro view of everything. And I also work with like 90% women. So a couple of things. I'm sorry.
I'll say it's awesome.
Yeah, so a couple of things happened simultaneously. My sister got married a few years ago, and I don't know if you know anything about like calligraphy or hand lettering, but I feel like in the last few years, it's really become this trend, and like everybody wants it at their wedding, and they want the pretty welcome sign and the beautiful seating chart. They want all these things, but honestly, it's kind of expensive. So my sister was like, I'm not paying for this. I don't even know who I would reach out to. So she was like, why don't you just do like, you can do calligraphy on my envelopes and just do all these things that I found on Pinterest. And I was like, I literally know nothing about it.
Oh, so you had no experience in calligraphy before your business at all?
No, none.
I didn't know that.
I mean, I had like decent handwriting, but like and I used to like, it's really fun. I used to like write in cursive, like all over my notebooks. Like it was just this thing that I would do in meetings. I would just like write people's names. I liked the way names looked in cursive. Like I remember one time at marriage, someone was like, why do you do that? And I was like, like, it just like was this thing that I did. But other than that, no. So my sister paid for me to take a $75 like intro to calligraphy class. So I went and I learned how to do it. And now I don't really do calligraphy is like the old school, like nib, dip it in the ink kind of thing. So now what a lot of people do is this like modern version called hand lettering, where you're like essentially imitating the art of calligraphy, but like with with markers or with paint versus like the actual tool. So you like still get the effect, but it just takes a different like type of precision to do that. So people call it like the art of like writing letters.
Got it.
So yeah, I started with my sister's wedding, and I like fell in love, and I was like, I'm just gonna start a little Instagram. And then one day I think I just started like randomly posting about stuff, and one day a girl that I work with was like, I mean, people are getting married and having babies at Kendra Scott left and right, because again, lots of women. And so this girl was like, oh, I really want calligraphy at my wedding, but like there's this one company that I'm swooning over and they're so expensive. And I was like, well, I'll do it. And I did it for like pennies. Like, to give you an example, like these things are called, this is my daily reminder. It's a beautiful day to do hard things.
I love that.
But I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to screen grab that as the title.
Screen grab. So this is called a place card. And these are like, people like have them, like when you go sit at your dinner table at a wedding, you'll have it with like someone's name, like written really beautifully. And I think I charged the girl like 25 cents a card. And I think now I charge like $1.75 kind of thing. So it's just like funny how as you progress, and I mean, obviously at the time I had no idea what I was doing. So like every project that I do, like whenever I price, I'm like, maybe that price should change. But anyway, so I did her wedding, and her photographer took some like professional pictures, and then I just kind of started hustling from there, and started going to like open houses at wedding venues and using a lot of hashtags, and just kind of like growing from there. And it's funny because I look back like 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my handwriting was so awful. Like, I can't believe anybody would pay for this kind of thing, because it's like an ever evolving process. But yeah, so just kind of the work that I've been doing in my professional life, and then just like needing some sort of creative outlet. And I think just like, I feel like I'm always trying to do more. I think to a degree, it's like almost like a bad trait that I have, where it's like, the carrot, always trying to like get to that next level of happiness. So I think that combined with my OCD, it's like my brain is just always like, what can I do next? And what's next? And it's like, how can I be better? And what, so I feel like I'm my biggest champion, but also like my biggest enemy at times when it comes to that. But yeah, it's been like an awesome creative outlet for me. Lettered by Valerie is the name of my business. I don't know if I said that.
I'll put it
yeah, I don't know if it's like a swipe up or link below or whatever it is. I don't know how advanced this is.
It's very basic. That's why I'll just point my finger here and then they'll just put it right here. That's how it works. Fill in the blank.
But yeah, and it's really interesting because that first client that I had, the company that at the time that she was like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, their work is so beautiful and, you know, so far out of like reach for what I can do. So I actually have worked with that company now. Oh. And those owners are kind of transitioning to this like different part of their life and moving on to like different like businesses. So I'm actually like acquiring a bunch of we're in the process of working on this like business deal where I'm going to like be acquiring their inventory, and kind of taking on some of their clients. So it's just interesting how like things really come full circle. But yeah, I think
so can I just hop on this one thing really quick? Because that exact story is why I feel that having that, you want to call it a scatterbrain, you want to call it constantly like doing the next thing. Those sort of things only happen, in my opinion, because of that. I think that the scatterbrain, because I can relate. Like I've always been the kind of guy that wants to make money in different places. It used to be just for money. Do the lemonade stand for money. Do the baseball cards for money. Do that for money. It was always for that. Now I've just kind of done it because it's fun. But your whole story of how it's like, I'll do it. I'll take on a client for 25 cents. I'll take the class. My sister will pay for the class. And then just kind of where you're at right now, acquiring somebody's clients, where normally my perspective, normally a person would start it, try and go and reach out to their own clients, get to blah, 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 blah. Oh, this isn't working, blah, blah. But you're so many pockets that you don't really fall into too much. There's self-criticism there, but it's because you're always moving and because you're fast. I feel like that is a super strength because it gives that thing time to kind of like get there.
For sure. And this like, I wouldn't say, I mean, I feel like I've teetered between the idea of like, do I want to do this full time? Do I not? I feel like if I invested like 100% of my energy into it, like it really would be even better than it has been. Right now it's, you know, just a side hustle, aka like I work 2 jobs kind of thing. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just like what you put into it and like the mental energy that you put around it. So for example, Michael and I were supposed to get married in July. And so spring in Texas, I think spring in general, but spring in Texas is like what they call like wedding season. Okay. Because that everybody wants to get married before it's 110 degrees outside. True. So you'll start to see in December, January, February, your inbox starts to kind of pile up for all the people who are getting married in, you know, March, April, May. So at the beginning of this year, I made the intentional decision to not do wedding season because I was like, we have wedding showers, we have bachelor and bachelorette parties. Like I want to spend time like celebrating up because it's like, I'm so busy all the time that like half of the time, like Michael's like literally putting a plate of food in front of my face while I'm like,
hamster wheel. It's the
hamster wheel. Yeah.
Unless you jump off, you're going to continue to go because always something new is going to pop up.
Exactly. So I made the decision, like, I'm just going to stop and just do my day job and then hang out with Michael and do my wedding at night, or our wedding. And then COVID happened and nobody was getting business anyways. So it was just crazy because it was like, I didn't really miss out per se because no one was having weddings. And then literally when our wedding got postponed, I kind of just took some time and I was like, you know, I just want to relax. Like there's just so much. I don't know if I can cuss on this thing.
Of course you can. Yeah. I'm surprised I haven't yet.
There's just so much shit going on right now. There's so much noise on every platform that you could possibly be on that I was like, I just need to like take a step back and just listen to what's going on and just like be. Yeah. And the minute I decided like, okay, I'm ready to do this again. I'm ready to like pick back up. Literally, I had a project within like 2 weeks of when I decided that I was going to do it. And I already have like things lined up
Yep.
through the end of the year. Like literally all these things like snowballed into effect the minute that my brain like put it out that I was ready for it. You know what I mean? Which is like, I know some people don't believe in the hype of like the power of the universe and putting it out there, but I am like a huge believer in that.
Mhm.
I'm like convinced it's the way that like anything in my life has ever happened in the last 3.5 years.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been a ride for sure.
It's been cool to watch. I mean, look, personally, my favorite content is the Home Depot trips or the Lowe's trips that you guys go on, and you're there and you're on like the thing, and I just love seeing that process. And then the final product obviously is like super dope. Even the eco stuff that you just put up recently, I like that idea, right? Because that also makes it more affordable for the people. That's something that you repeatedly can do, and it's also aesthetically pleasing for any sort of wedding environment, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. And I feel like right now I'm like very much on the spectrum of harder. So yeah,
Does it make you know, like which one, if you had to pick right now, which one makes you happier at the moment? It could change. But like, would you say that Letters is a little bit, or would you say Kendra Scott? I know they play together, which sometimes is the key. The equation together is what makes it better. Because then it's like always, oh, well, if I went all the way on Letters, I'd make way more money. But would I be as happy not working with all of the girls and all of the figures that I have? Do you think about that?
Yeah. And I think that's like why I still am where I am right now, because there is something to, I mean, I sometimes say like, if I could only just do Letter by Valerie full time, but like, I feel like I have a very business oriented like mindset and kind of grew up with that because my dad owns his own business. And so I enjoy what I do during the day, but it's not like I work on the marketing team, but my job specifically is not creative. Like, I mean, it's strategic, but it's not creative in the sense that I'm managing marketing operations. So I'm in a lot of meetings, kind of helping to run them. I'm helping with like operational processes on the back end. I'm working on like cross-functional like improvements and making sure that communication is streamlined across the different departments that need to be like talking to one another. But I'm not designing things. I'm not like building artwork. I'm not like creating ads. So I'm fueled by the business portion of that. Not that I'm not doing business stuff for my own business, but then like I love the creative outlet that I have with Letter by Valerie. And I just love weddings. Like my sister was like, I don't even know why I had a big wedding. Like, it's totally not my thing. And I'm like, I live for it. Like, I get on the phone with my clients and I'm like, okay, tell me everything.
Yes.
What's your color scheme? Who's your florist? Like, I live for the final product, and I live for like, I mean, I feel like a lot of times things that people do is self-serving, and to a degree, this is self-serving for me because I like live for the like positive feedback and the happiness that I get from my clients when like I've done an excellent job. So I don't know, it's hard because I'm really tired a lot of the time, and we had to push this back like a week and a half because I was up every day last week till like 1 a.m. trying to just like get this wedding ready that I did this past weekend. But like, it also like fuels me in a way and kind of gives me purpose. So
to bring it back to the conversation we were having like 14 minutes ago, the attitude and the words you were using to describe Maersk as opposed to the last 8 minutes that we've been talking, completely opposite. You could tell why, right? That's a complete indicator as to why it's why it's funny. Just your enthusiasm as to how you talk to your clients. I want to hear it all. That's instantly. And I think from one salesperson to another, even though I don't know if you consider yourself a salesperson, but like that style is what people like, right?
Yeah.
And that communication from human to human is so important, dude. I've been talking to these, like I have so much downtime now. That's why I started the podcast. So what I've started to do is I've started to reach out to like founders, CEOs of like tech companies that are either like early round or they're like on their second one. Like these are the old school guys that worked at Oracle, but then went and started a startup. I want to talk to them and I want to understand like what the fuck are you thinking? First off, how do you see the world? And then on the other side, it's like, I get attracted to people based on their communication style. So how they talk to me, or how they listen to me, or how they receive my communication style, to me is kind of like this encouraging thing. And it's infectious, because then I learn off of them. I don't know what that is, but I've been doing it a lot.
It's a vibe.
Sometimes it's like sly. Sometimes I'll talk to recruiters and be like, oh, I'm looking for a job, just to talk to that person. Like, because otherwise the LinkedIn would just go nowhere. Right. So it's really interesting, because it's what I hear from you. Right. And it's the same, not message, but it's the same style. It's the same enthusiasm. They want to call it, I think when you're younger, they call you more of a go-getter, and they say you have a lot of energy. When you're under 50, they say those things. I've noticed that. But it's there.
That's right? Like you to a T.
Yeah. I know. That's what I love it. I'm like, when I ask the recruiters, how do you label me? And they say like up and comer. I'm like, okay. Energy, go-getter, this and that. And I'm like, makes sense.
I'm here for it.
I'm there for it. Sounds good to me. Even if it has a little bit of an undertone of like, he's young, which is fine. I'm cool. I told the guy yesterday that he was the co-founder at this cool, like, it's like a 30-person Israeli company. And he was like, what the fuck did he say to me? He said, do you deal with that being young? I mean, your company's kind of a young culture, women driven, all that stuff, young CEO, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Do
you feel like that's helped, or have you felt the kind of ageism that people feel in companies?
I honestly, I haven't.
Good.
I don't know. I feel like Kendra Scott is unique in that way. Our three, not to get like way into like I like my job speech, but
self-promotion mode.
Yeah, the 3 pillars of our company are family, fashion, and philanthropy. And like when they talk about family, they talk about like, yes, our external family and our customers being an extension of that, but more so like our internal family. So I've been really lucky and fortunate during my time there to have like really great mentors, and even the president of the company, who's like Kendra's right hand, like I will text him, like on Father's Day, I text him a picture of a dog, and I was just like, Happy Father's Day. Like, the company culture is really warm and inviting, while still having this like level of professionalism to everything, of course. So I haven't really felt that. I think when I interviewed actually with the president of the company at the time, he was in New York for market. So I took a train from Jersey to New York to go interview with him. And I was nervous that he wouldn't want to hire me, because yes, I had some project management experience, which is what I was interviewing for, but it was like with this shipping company. And like a lot of times, like, as you probably know, working in New York, like fashion companies, like if you're applying for a marketing coordinator job, there's like 200 girls standing in line to apply for that job who, interned with Ralph Lauren, and like went the whole like gamut of stuff. And I'm like kind of trying to piecemeal a story of like why I'm the right candidate. And he was like, so I asked him, like, at the end there, I was like, do you have any questions? I was like, what are your concerns? Like, is there anything on my resume that concerns you? And he was like, listen, like, I don't, like, obviously I care about the things that you've done in your past, but he's like, I don't care. Like, I care, are you a good person? And are you smart? Are you willing to learn? And are you going to like catch on quickly to the way that we do things? And are you a good culture fit? And he was like, the rest of it, you'll figure it out. And that's exactly what's happened. So I appreciated that he gave me a chance.
Yeah.
Because before that, I interviewed at Coach in New York, and I interviewed with like a couple of different retailers, and like some of them would barely like give me a chance, and then some of them were like, you're just a little too green. And it's like, okay, but I'm smart.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't really experienced that, thankfully. And again, like, I believe in like you kind of have to be like your biggest champion and put out there what you want. And so I've just like been kind of trying to carve my way through the last 3 years that I've been there, and like things have happened in kind of like a crazy positive way. But yeah, it's been awesome. I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, it's totally, I mean, I'm not even sure what questions I'm asking at this point, but like the man, it's just, there's this weird word that keeps coming in. It's like just the blend of it all, right? Like the person who gave you the chance to where you're at now, like looking back on it, it's almost like, yeah, like that is like, that should be the right way to look at somebody coming in. Because the way they looked at me when I was young, it's like, it's green good because we can mold him into what we want, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people like that. And because if you come in with like 40 years of experience, a lot of the times you've already seen too much, so you're going to base everything off of your experience,
right.
So that balance of you're coming in green, you're going to make it your own, and now how it's worked with your life is super awesome. Like you're fucking, the way I look at you is like a weapon, dude. Like the art, the business, and then the blend of personality is like something that's awesome. I think that a lot of people just listening to your story will get which is kind of like the whole theme around this podcast, right? The whole story about Val, and there's things that I didn't even know that I learned today. The whole story around it is kind of in my, what I'm hearing, is kind of like just throwing yourself and trying things, and then not being too specific with the outcome, because how it's going to blend and how it's going to add, divide, multiply together is going to be something beautiful, I think.
Yeah,
that's,
exactly.
You want to call it like an optimistic mindset, you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. I think optimism like that, diving into things that don't necessarily make sense, that aren't correlated, that maybe the universe wouldn't have necessarily starred together. I think that's kind of what makes people unique, and that's what makes people cool, and that's what makes people interesting. The people I get along with.
It's the journey.
Yeah. It's the people who aren't necessarily checking the boxes every single time for every single decision, which is hard because I feel like that's what I've been conditioned to do.
Right.
I was like brought
Very
up
much
in this
so.
like compliance and auditing like mentality, because you're in finance and you're in accounting, and then to move where I'm at now is the complete opposite extreme, which I'm kind of an extremist, so it works. But yeah, it's what I get. I really like this conversation. Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. You have definitely like eased my anxieties about all of this. I was like, what am I going to say?
I really want to make it casual for people. Like I want to make it so like not formal. I want to be very chill. Tell your story, say what you want, curse if you want, don't curse if you want. There's certain things that like I remember after the conversation that I'm like, oh man, like I should have, like, I want to know, like, what did her dad do? Like, how did he grow up? Like, there's so many stories in every single person.
If you want to have my dad on your podcast, he's a hoot.
Dude.
He will talk all day long about his life. He, like, always talks about how he's going to write a book. And I'm like,
really?
You do that. My dad is, like, the American, like, dream. Story? Yeah.
I love that. I should, oh, my God. All right. Can you broker that intro?
Yeah.
I love that. I'm probably going to see him at the wedding too, so I'll definitely.
You will.
Oh, we should do a Portugal fill in the blank with your dad. Let
me tell you how much he would love, like, having you over, sitting under his olive tree, drinking some wine.
Oh, dude.
Enjoying the brisk.
What's the name of the? Someone told me that I have to try. I think I sent you a picture of it. It's like this bottle. It's red. It has fruit inside of it. It's a liquor, but it's only in Portugal. What's the name of it? I don't know if it's a wine or it's a liquor. Oh shit, I can't remember the name. But I
have no clue. I'm like, sangria?
It for me it looks like a sangria, but it's not. It's very native to Portugal. I don't know if there's cherries inside. I'll send you a picture of it after this.
Yeah.
I want to try. There's so many things. Looking it up, like 3 or 4 of the most beautiful beaches in Europe are in the south of Portugal.
Oh, yeah.
Bro,
it's and again, it's one of those things that as a kid I was like, we have to go to Portugal for the summer. I don't get to be with my friends. And now I'm like, I got to go to Portugal for the summer.
Yep.
Like, who gets to say that they hung out in southern Portugal
I
for
used to
3
look at it like a
months.
negative too. Well, I mean, I didn't have Portugal. I had Peru, which is, it's cool.
Still
But
cool.
it's cool. It's not Portugal. It's not Colombia, but it's how I learned Spanish. Is that how you learned Portuguese? Just by
Yeah.
going every summer? Yeah.
Yeah. My parents, like, we grew up talking Portuguese a lot. And I wouldn't say I'm very good at speaking Portuguese, but I can understand and get by. So
Yeah.
we just don't use it.
Yeah. You don't use it? But you and Michael both speak the same. Well, do you
Yeah.
use the same?
We
Dialect?
speak different, like, I think the word is dialect. Like, it's different dialects, but we can understand each other. But we mostly just use it when we're like trying to like talk in code, like when we're in public.
Yeah.
You know? So I'll be like, look at that funny thing. Or like if he wants to say something to me but doesn't want anyone to understand. Like that's pretty much the only times that we use Portuguese. But like the other day we were at a wedding setting up and I like was having a dilemma about something that wasn't working out, but I didn't want like people around to know that I was like having a minor meltdown. So I just like told them in Portuguese. We figured it out, but yeah.
That's so funny. We do that sometimes
It
at
comes
dinner
in handy.
Spanish. Yeah, it does. Kat and I do that in Spanish. There's definitely more Spanish being spoke in the house now that we have Penelope. Because like
Yeah, we're the same way.
Yeah, my parents didn't really speak it a lot. I mean, they did to like their friends, but to me, it was an English household. So unless it was my grandma unless it was me going to Peru or going to my aunt's house, I didn't speak it first. It was the second. So now it's much more like Spanish. Like we went to this farm this weekend. It was a sanctuary.
I saw that.
Bro.
You know I live for the pee content.
Bro. Oh my God. We were dying, living. She didn't like the goats. It's the one animal she does not like. But so anyway, the guy at the end of the tour, he was a really cool New York guy, Jewish, like he's a IP lawyer for musicians. So he's like, doing it. Owns like I want to say 100 acres in northern New Jersey, like really north.
Wow.
And sanctuary just brings all the animals. Like they got a pig that was literally dropped off on the side of the road, and they bring it in, they rehabilitate it, they take care of it, and it lives there forever. Like amazing fucking dude. And the what's it called? Dude, I'm losing my train of thought with you. What was I talking about?
You're too excited.
Yeah, I get excited about these things. Oh, the pee. Oh yeah. So by the end of the tour, right? The guy was speaking to us in Spanish. He goes, he's like, oh, Penelope only knows Spanish now. He'd be like, Penelope, mira. And it was so fucking funny, dude. Like it's just we're trying to.
It's so important though, and so good to do that. I mean, Michael and I are like when we have kids, like we have to do that because it's just such like a valuable skill that it's like if you can learn it when it's like easy to learn it, you know, even if you only have like remnants of it as you grow older, like you'll pick it up, you know what I mean? Versus like trying to learn it in high school for a year and hope
you don't have
sticks.
the same foundation, which is kind of what we're trying to lay now. Because like it's funny to see P have a Spanglish thing because certain things are English as that's it, like help. Right? Help. If she wants to open a door, that's English. But if it's like si or it's like este, like that's only in Spanish. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how she learns it. It's out of this world, man. She's about to be 2.
I know. I was gonna say birthday.
I know. We don't. I think it's gonna be Lion King.
What's the plan?
Lion King.
She does like Lion King.
She goes crazy for Lion.
I die at that video of her like lifting her doll.
Now she's into the Scar one. You know Scar? Remember when he does like that like Be Prepared song? She goes nuts for that song. Like starts like jumping. I didn't record it this morning.
She does like to dance.
Yeah, she does. Oh man. I love just putting her with Drake songs in the background. It's like my thing now. I love it.
I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Don't ever stop.
She's gonna watch this when she's like 17 years old and be like, P, remember this. All right, cool. Let's wrap it up. We're running on an hour right now, so thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know that went quick. So
time flies.
The way that I end these is basically filling in the blank, right? So the question that I ask everybody is, discovering the blank in you by listening to the blank in them. I'll say it again just to give you a little bit of time. Discovering the blank in you by listening to the blank in them. So what comes to your mind, I guess?
Well, if I'm thinking about it through the lens of LBV, or Letters by Val, as you like to call it. And then Catherine's always like, it's a letter.
Yeah, letter. I say letters all the time. It just rings better for me.
Wait, it's discovering the blank in you, and by you, you mean me?
Yes. Or it could be projected out, however you want to take it.
Discovering the blank in you by listening to the blank in them. So I'm gonna keep it to my wedding then, or not my wedding biz, and I'm gonna say discovering the creative in you by listening to the love story in them.
Ooh, I love that.
It's very different, I think, than some of the other people you've had on here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this conversation usually moves into like an inspirational, motivational thing, or into somebody who's like trying to get courage, which is kind of the premise that I wanted to set. But like, I just take it however it comes, and I get that the creative and the love story. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways it could have gone.
Let's do the clap right now, and then we'll talk for 2 seconds. 1, 2, and 3.
With a pudding pop, pancake booty, pancake booty hoe, pancake booty, pancake booty hoe, pancake booty, pancake booty hoe. All them big booty bitches get off the floor.